What's up, everybody? Welcome in another edition of the First and Orange podcast. Parker Gabriel here, Ryan McFadden over there, your friendly neighborhood Denver Post Broncos beat reporters. Ryan, feels like it's been a while. Thursday night game. It was a week ago now that the Broncos have played. Obviously, still got some work week left here as we're recording this Thursday morning. But the Broncos put the beat down on New Orleans at the Superdome last week, 33-10. Now they're getting ready as big favorites, as it happens, against the Carolina Panthers on Sunday with a chance to get to 5-3. Did you have to ask for directions or anything when we got back to the facility yesterday? It'd been quite a while since we've been around there.
Yeah, it felt like a mini bye week in a sense, just like the times that we were off and not having that much access after the game and stuff like that. So yeah, it felt like a mini bye week, but I feel like at the same time it was kind of much needed for everyone.
Yeah, no doubt. Plus, Ryan celebrated a birthday over the mini bye week, so perfect timing on that. Were you like 22 now or something like that?
27. I wish I was 22.
Yeah, there you go. Well, someday you're going to turn 30, and then we can talk about how old we wish we were. It's been a good stretch for the Broncos overall. They've won 4 out of 5. Obviously, the loss to the Chargers a couple weeks ago might be one that ends up sticking kind of in their craw a little bit, just in the sense that then play very well offensively. The Chargers are good, but then, the Chargers turn around and play really bad. This past week, they lose a game they had really no business losing and all of that. But I think, Ryan, maybe just sort of generally speaking, the mini bye week gives you a chance in a way to sort of step back a little bit and look at them and at the Broncos. And for all the, have some warts offensively. They're not throwing the ball particularly well. The defense has had a couple of times where they've slipped up a little bit, although overall they've been really good. And I thought it was interesting yesterday. Sean Payton said, was sort of asked about the team, and he said, well, we're exactly what our record says we are, right? We're 4-3. And I think that's maybe worth just sticking on for a minute, because at this point, I don't know that you would say, oh man, they've been great so far, but it's also, I think you come to the conclusion that so far so good, or at least pretty promising, for this team as constructed, playing a rookie quarterback, to be at 4-3 at this point in the schedule.
Yeah, I think I would say it's a bit surprising start. I don't know how many of us that have covered this team or on the outside nationally thought they would be 4-3 at this point.
Not me. I'll say that.
I thought. And what stands out is how they're still finding ways to win. I think the biggest thing that Bo Nix gets so much talk around here, and that's rightfully so. He's a rookie starting quarterback, but the defense has just been playing really solid football. There's been times where like you just mentioned before, where they had some slip ups. You can go back to the first half against Pittsburgh, second half against Seattle. The first half against the Chargers, but for the most part, they've really helped them win these games and just keeping the opponents off the scoreboard. 10 points allowed against the Saints, and that really, to me, one of the more impressive victories of the year was holding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7 and that win. So yeah, I think that's probably been one of the most surprising things is how I didn't expect the defense to be this good.
Yeah. We
saw signs of it during training camp, but it's hard to me. I think it's hard to we can report on what we see during training camp and how they look, but it's hard to get a gauge of how will that translate against, an actual opponent where it's full speed, full contact. But you did see a little bit during training camp, but it's been better than what I thought. The inside linebackers have done a solid job after Alex Singleton has gotten hurt, went down for the year for a torn ACL. The secondary has been pretty good, from Brandon Jones to PJ Locke to Pat Surtain, playing better than he's been played before. And Riley Moss was shown to be a solid starting outside cornerback. So that to me has been a surprising start. There's still things with the offense that are pretty concerning. But to be 4-3, I think you really got to give a lot of props to what Vance Joseph has done and how those guys have really, I think, embraced that whole young and hungry and the whole world is against us attitude.
Yeah, it's especially on defense. I think pretty much I mean, so far, pretty much every evaluation and every call that they made in the offseason has worked, essentially. Riley Moss was ready, obviously, now. But there was no reason to necessarily, he did a good job on special teams. That's sort of a normal arc, right, from getting drafted. Obviously, he had he dealt with a core muscle injury in camp as a rookie. So, the arc of being a special teams player and then a defensive contributor, that's pretty normal. But to step in and play at the level he's played at doesn't always happen. He's done that. They thought they could play, younger and less expensive guys than Justin Simmons at safety. So far, that's been true. They thought that if they upgraded the defensive line, that would sort of, a rising tide there would lift all boats on defense. That's been true. And so every move that they made, every sort of call that they made on defense has paid off so far. And I think I totally agree with you. I mean, the thing about this team that I think I missed on during camp is just how good the defense was. You had, just like you said, Ryan, you had the sense that maybe it could be. And looking back on it, it's sort of interesting to look back on that joint practice with the Packers now, because Denver's defense was really feisty that day. And you're sort of wondering, is this who they are? Is this just one of those days? You never quite know, if one team's had is just more locked in one day than another, or is one team beat up and one team's fresh or whatever. But as it turns out, what we saw from the Broncos defense that day against a pretty talented set of Packers skill players and Jordan Love and all of that has really carried through the season. They're hard to throw the ball against. They're good in coverage. They play a ton of man. They make life difficult on receivers. All of those things have played out over the first 7 weeks, and it's obviously to great effect so far. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, it's not the foremost challenge, I guess, on the schedule this week. If you were looking at it with Carolina is really bad. But very rarely is there a truly easy week in the NFL. So it's not like you can just say, okay, chalk it up 5-3, don't bother playing, and let's think about Baltimore. But this is a chance for the Broncos. I think this is true, that it would be the furthest into the season that they have a chance to get to 2 games over 500 at the latest date in the season since 2016. And so that's that won't mean much then if you go and you lose to Baltimore and Kansas City and you're 5-5, at least you built some buffer. But there is a chance here, Ryan, to kind of continue what hasn't been a perfect run, but in the record book has served them very well over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, and one thing is about this, you look at the Carolina. I'll say this is when you look at this team and being 4-3, and now you got this match against Carolina. I said this the last time we was on here, that these 2 games are very crucial because you're facing after this, you're facing the Ravens and you're facing the Kansas City Chiefs. The Ravens have one of the best, if not the best, offense in the league with two potential MVP candidates in their backfield, Lamar and Derrick Henry. So you want to take care of this game, get to 5-3. And I would say this, even if, let's say, just forecasting, let's say if they are 5-5 after 3 weeks, still to me is pretty surprising to me. I didn't think,
no doubt, yeah.
I didn't think we will be at this point. If you ask me, there were times where I thought, oh, we're probably going to be, when we get to this stage, we'll be talking about Travis Hunter to Denver.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's even you get here, you get 5-5, you get to 5-3, and if you are 5-5, you're still in the hunt technically, which is good, which is a good sign given all the things that have happened in the offseason from the release of Russ, drafting a rookie quarterback, letting go of Justin Simmons, letting go of Jesse, moving on with Josie Jewell. It was just so much that didn't seem like, oh, this team was going to be really it was going to be a pretty ugly year. But now it's just they're fighting. I'll say that. It's just I guess that what makes it fun. the offense hasn't been pretty to watch. Like there's things like, that kind of like when you watch it, it's kind of irritating to watch, or it's kind of frustrating to see. But like it's just like I you just like appreciate how they've been fighting. And it's like you kind of get that vibe of like our backs are against the wall. Like this, I guess that nothing to lose type of mindset you've taken from them. And I think that's what's been the fun part of covering this team through this, through these first 7 weeks is that it's like you have all these guys in the locker room, just, they had nothing to lose. Like you going into this season, no one expect you to play this good. They expect you to like to be a game above 500 this stage in the year. And you got to appreciate that, how they've, carried that and I guess use it as a sense of motivation on the field.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. It's going to be, I think ultimately the ceiling for this team. I mean, defense, that's a sustainable way to go to have a really good defense and to be able to run the ball. And we've seen signs, I think, over the last few weeks of the running game, diversifying a little bit, and especially, as it pertains to Bo Nix and his ability to run. And obviously they're not going to design, 15 runs a game for Bo or anything like that. But, you see some signs there where it's like, okay, what this team was supposed to be in terms of a veteran, expensive offensive line. They want to be able to run the football. They want to use multiple running backs and then sort of insert Bo Nix into the run game. Like we've seen a little bit more of that over the past few weeks. And so it's going to be interesting to see how far they can sort of take that ethos offensively. But also, I mean, they are going to have to throw the ball more efficiently at some point along the way here than they have so far. And, it's not like there's been nothing good in the passing game, but the metrics don't lie. I mean, they are in the bottom 5 in the NFL, statistically across the board. And it's not just like touchdowns and interceptions or whatever. I mean, it's yards per attempt. It's, some of the more advanced metrics like EPA per drop back. It's just pretty much any efficiency metric you look at, they don't grade out very well so far. And so that's kind of like, to me, Ryan, like that's the wild card here of, are you going to be on the fringes of the playoff race? And are you going to be this sort of plucky underdog story that sticks around? Or are you really going to make a push toward being a team that can make real noise? And I think, there's a lot of things that go into that. You have to stay healthy. You have to catch some breaks. You have to do the same recipe as every team in the NFL. But for this one in particular, that question, I think, rests on whether they remain a bottom 5 passing team in the NFL, or if they can just get to like 20th league average, a little bit worse. That might be enough given the way they're constructed and given the way they're playing on defense and also on special teams. That might be enough for them to say, hey, listen, 10 wins isn't out of the question here, even after a tough stretch coming up on the road. But like, I guess the thing I don't know is what the likelihood of that is. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe you'll see Bo Nix make some of those strides and you'll be like, wow, this team's dangerous. And if it doesn't, I don't know how much gas is going to be in the tank come December. It doesn't mean they can't do it, but to me, like that's where this thing sort of hinges, at least as you're looking at it from here.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like you see them make strides in the run game. I think the defense is fine, but like I think the key to determine whether, okay, this is a team that can potentially make the playoffs is going to start with they have to improve. They have to improve in the passing game. And I think a lot of that is like we've talked about is like Bo Nix mechanics. I don't know how much that can change in the middle, in the heat of a season, or that's something that where you just have to emphasize that greatly in the off season. And also too, is like you like to see more of their pass catchers like actually go make a play as well as and that's to me that's kind of been sort of the issue even last year with Russ. So this is not like this is a brand new thing. It's just like they really don't have that true like that guy. Like you look at Minnesota with Justin Jefferson. You look at when the Dolphins Tyreek Hill, Cowboys with CD Lamb. Like you see a lot of like teams that have that guy, KC, Travis Kelce. You see whether it's a receiver or a tight end, that guy that it seems like no matter who's under center, they just figure out a way to make a play. You look at one guy that seems to that is on that trajectory. He's like Raiders tight end Brock Bowers. Like he's in the midst of a quarterback carousel in Las Vegas, yet he has still been one of the more productive tight ends in the NFL in year one.
He's second in the NFL in catches right now, like all positions.
So that's what I think that offense is truly lacking as well. But do I think they have a chance? Like they have enough to sneak into like you said, the 20th percentile in terms of like of a passing offense. I think if you do sneak into that and you're not in the bottom 5, I think you do have a shot at like probably 9 or 10 wins. And it's crazy to say that we're talking 9 or 10 wins with this team at this stage of the year, but that's how good that defense has been. Is like you just feel like they can figure out a way to find some continuity in that area of the game. It's like things just change for this team and your outlook just change. But I'm not putting in turn until we see more consistency and improvement in the passing game. I'm not going to be on here saying like, yeah, this team has everything it needs to be a playoff team. If Bo Nix can't pass that ball down the field and he can't, improve on his accuracy in the intermediate and deep passing game, then yeah, you're not. I think your underdog story is gonna fall short in the end. Like you have to be able to move the ball. Nix has to be more consistent in throwing the ball, and you guys, you're going to have to get your receivers. They have to be able to make plays. They have to get open down the field. All that comes into play, and like that starts there. We talked so much about the run game, and if the run game is indeed starting to find their rhythm, they're going to have to get more out of the passing game. You're not going to make the playoffs if they're not going to make the playoffs or even make it close down the stretch if they don't, because at some point this formula is going to fall out. It's going to fall short, and so they're going to need more consistency there.
No doubt. And it's kind of funny. Like it is hard in the current, in just the way social media is and the way, everyone wants to rush a judgment at this point. Like it's hard to have any sort of nuanced conversation about Bo Nix, right? Like or about the struggles in general. Cause I think you're right. I think it's a little bit of everything. Like they need receivers to go make plays. And frankly, like long-term, if you're thinking about it, like they need a number one, sort of a true number one outside. And like, it's way too early to say that, Troy Franklin is going to ascend into that kind of player. It's probably too early to say that it's impossible for him to do it, because it's really been impressive to watch him come along over the last few weeks, especially from where he was maybe like midway through training camp to now. He's made huge strides. And then I just think, like, as it pertains to Nix, I mean, I thought Sean Payton, he's been very everything he says about Bo and regarding to Bo basically is very positive. And he doesn't like to entertain the like, well, he struggles with this or he doesn't do this well. And that's fine. I mean, I understand you want to prop up, your rookie quarterback and all of that. And frankly, like, there are strengths to highlight too. And that's the way that Sean Payton sort of, chooses to be with us when he's talking about Bo Nix. I think one of the sort of interesting things that he said, and it's sort of like saying it without saying it, is like that you don't want to overcoach during the season. And that's part of the footwork stuff and the timing and the rhythm and all of that, especially, from under center, but just in general, playing within the structure of the offense. And like Sean wants the offense to be like a Swiss watch, right? Like it's precision, it's in rhythm, it's exacting, it's the receiver split is right within 2 inches, and the footwork is married to the exact depth of the route, and all of the variables are built in. And if you just play the right notes all the time, then you've got, options and you can pick teams apart down the field. And that hasn't been what it's looked like. And that's okay. Like, it was asking a lot of a rookie quarterback to step in and operate the offense at that sort of level. It's also, I think, to your point, Ryan, like, it's unclear exactly how reasonable it is to think that you're going to make huge strides in that regard over the course of a season. Like, you got a lot. Bo Nix has a lot of other stuff to worry about during the week. Third down plan. What's Carolina do from its blitz package? What are the indicators? This, that, and the other thing. Like, there's plenty to do. They don't get 25 hours a week to be out on the field working through play action footwork and it's 3 and a hitch. And if a blitz is coming, there's a lot to get through. So that, I think it's just a question of how much that sort of naturally comes along. But the Broncos have been really high on Bo, on his ability to extend plays. And then the thing that you hear from players all the time is just like, they love the guy. They love the way he competes and the way he keeps playing, whether things are going good or bad. And so those sort of like intangible things, they're really happy with. And then the question is like, how quickly does the rest of it come along? And, I guess we'll all find that out together.
Yeah. And the one thing about Bo is like, when I guess like when you list out his, like, what he's done wrong, is not, there are things where you look at it like, oh, like if it's more mechanical issues like this, you would think that's something that can be fixed over the course of time. And he's done enough where, like, to me, he's done enough where you see the positives.
Right.
Like, he's a rookie quarterback. Some guys can just go in and just be like Jaden Daniels and just light it up, or CJ Stroud, light it up, or it's going to take some time to, like, develop. There's things you like about him, but overall, it's like there's still a lot of work to be done. And if the fact that they're 4-3 with him as a starter, I think is impressive. And this is, to me, it's still not earth shattering. Like I said, even though the Broncos started at 1-5 last year, they still found a way to turn it around and get to above 500 before they once again just fell off the deep end in December. But outside, so it's just, I look at it like, you got to be impressed of how they are able to be where they at despite the issues in the passing game. But if you want to see this taken further, if fans want to already say, hey, this is better than what we had, with Russ, then it's going to start finding consistency there. Because that's right there, that's what's going to lead you to beating the odds and getting to the playoffs. It's because I look at a team like the Baltimore Ravens when they play them next week. It's like that's a team that could run up the scoreboard just given their offense. However, their defense has been inconsistent and they give up a lot of big plays. So if you're in a situation where you might have to be in a shootout with the Ravens, you're not going to win it if you can't throw the ball down the field. That's how I look at it. Like, you should be able to escape against teams like Carolina. You should be able to, get past teams like New Orleans. But if you're in a situation where you have to go back and forth with a team and run up the scoreboard, then you're going to have to get better at that one area. And do I think so? I think they can improve just a bit, but there's still missing pieces there for it to see, all right, what this offense can truly look like. But yeah, your receivers gotta be able to make a play, and Bo Nix has to continue to improve on his accuracy. Because at some point, like, the short passing game, the screen game has worked, but at some point, it's like you're going to get into a situation where your back is against the wall and you're going to have to throw it down the field 10 to 20 yards. And I don't trust, I don't trust his offense to be able to push the ball down the field like that, especially in a situation where it might come down to last second and you need to get in a field goal range or you need a touchdown.
Yep, no doubt. And I mean, this is not rocket science. It's the way it works for a lot of teams. But, the defenses that the Broncos have played that have been any combination of good and or healthy at the time they've played them, they've really struggled against, right? Like, they really struggled to move the ball against Pittsburgh. They struggled against the Jets. The weather had some impact on that, but the Jets defense also, at least until they fired Robert Saleh for whatever reason, it was good. Now he's gone, and the defensive coordinator is the interim head coach, and their defense is bad. But at the time they were playing really well. The Chargers, obviously, they gave the Broncos a world of problems for 3+ quarters. That's a pretty good defense. They lead the NFL in scoring defense, I think. So, that's there are clear limitations, offensively so far, and the question is just like how much. How far can whatever strides you make sort of take you over the last 10 games? I guess, Ryan, some familiar faces with Carolina coming to town here. It's Ajiro Avero, the defensive coordinator. Josie Jewell has missed the last 3 games with a hamstring injury. As of Wednesday, he was, I think he was a limited participant in practice. So we'll see if he's back. They got some guys that spent time here. They're also really bad. I think the second worst point differential in the NFL it's either New England or Cleveland, like -72. Carolina's -133. So their average outcome this year, even though they beat the Raiders by 10, even including that game, their average outcome this year is getting beat by 19 points. So the Broncos are a touchdown favorite. It's only the 5th time they've been favored by a touchdown or more in the last 4 seasons. I get questions about like the trap game thing. I just feel like the Broncos are not in a place where they can look past anybody, but you never know on that front. With the big 2-game road swing coming up, we have the luxury of being able to talk about that on our podcast. Obviously, that's not what's happening in meeting rooms or anything like that. So what do you think, Ryan? Is this as cut and dried as it looks? Broncos by multiple scores at home on Sunday?
I think so. I think my prediction is I think Broncos win 27-13. Even though I don't call this a trap game, but like you said, you can't just overlook this because if you lose to Carolina Panthers and then you got what you have in the team you have to face the next 3 weeks, like your team, you can go from a potential promising year to now just falling flat in your face. Like if you lose this game, that's where you just got to go in and take care of business. You can't waste time. You can't give Bryce Young the opportunity to start, finding a groove. You got to punch them in their mouth early and try to get and secure your win by halftime. I think that should be their goal, is just punch them in the mouth early and try to get out of there. And like if you don't want to leave them hanging. Like this is a team like you've seen this. I think that's been one of the positives seen from this team is like the games that they look like they should win, they have taken care of business in.
Yep. Especially
last week against New Orleans. And I think that's key right there. Being able to take care of business against those type of opponents, to at least, keep the record, to have a decent record when it is time to go against the lead of the league. So yeah, I think the Broncos going to take care of business, win by multiple scores. So my prediction is 27-13. I think this may be the game where you start to see some life in the passing game with Bo Nix. You would think this is the opportunity to do so, given that you're playing the Carolina Panthers. So yeah, I think the Broncos are going to take care of business. I think they have enough to put up 20 points on the board, and the defense has just been really good. So it's hard to bet against them.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think I should say I should probably have a quick mea culpa here. I picked the Saints last week, and I took some grief on that on social media, rightfully so, with how bad New Orleans was. And I'll just say, like, I'm at the Superdome, Ryan, and it is like 4 plays into the game, and I was like, wow, I was really wrong. It did not take until the game was out of hand or anything like that. I saw the first 3 or 4 run plays the Broncos called, even on like the first drive before, I think it was like they punted on the first drive. But the first drive of the game, I was like, oh man, like the Saints defense is really bad. So yeah, I'm not making the same mistake this week. Carolina's bad. The Broncos are not bad. And it should be that simple. I think that Sean Payton will want to create some big plays in the passing game and give Bo Nix a little bit of a, I shouldn't even say confidence lift. I think Sean always says confidence is born of demonstrated ability. And so we know Bo Nix plays with a lot of confidence, and he doesn't lack any confidence. but just in the one area of like pull the trigger on time, play in rhythm, get the ball down the field, I think they will try to generate. They'll make a point of trying to generate some of that stuff. And the only hiccup in that is if you can't do it, then have you sort of disrupted the rest of your plan, or do you get away from running the ball or whatever? They're perfectly capable of not doing that. We've seen them get one-dimensional in the past. I'd imagine they will guard against that and still, make a point of running the ball and all that. I'm with you. I think 31-13 is what I was thinking. You're right in the same range. So there you go. Mark it down. Come out for a beautiful day on Sunday if you want. Otherwise, take it to the bank. Broncos, get it done this week. No, I mean, you never know. But this one shapes up well, and it's one the Broncos need before they hit a really brutal stretch in the schedule.
Yeah, they got to do it. And I think you look at this like I think coming out of this game, I think the two things you hope to see is this: you hope that they come out with a win. That's the most important thing. But figure out can you get Bo Nix on the right track in terms of in the passing game? I think that's the key. At the same, you will be concerned if he has the same first half he had against the Carolina Panthers. Then even if they win, I'm still concerned for moving forward. But if you can figure out a way to try to see if you can work out the kinks, kind of try to get him in rhythm, where it's you're not waiting until the second half for him to settle in. You can see 4 quarters of solid football from him in that department. I have no concerns about him as a scrambler at this point. I don't think it's a surprise anymore. He can run the football, everyone.
Yeah, he's fast.
It's we get that now. But it's time to see what he can do with his arm. And this, to me, I think this is the perfect opportunity to display that, to see what kind of plays that we think can work well so that we can incorporate them moving forward. And I think that's what you got to do there. So yeah, I think they should be able to take care of business. If they don't, then we have a lot of problems ahead.
No matter what happens, we'll have you all covered. denverpost.com/Broncos for all the latest. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That's Ryan. I'm Parker. We will talk to you all next week.